Are people in Massachusetts wicked smart? Are most people liberals? And does everyone want to marry Tom Brady? We'll answer those questions and more. So get ready to pay a bunch of taxes as we unbox the state of Massachusetts. Massachusetts, one of the original 13 colonies, the Bay State, the Pilgrim State, the Baked Bean State. Okay, that one's lame. Or how about the land of massholes? That's not fair. Everyone here can't be an a-hole, can they? No. But to get a complete understanding of everything that's Massachusetts, we need to look at things from a wide perspective and then drill down to massive details. This is Massachusetts. As you can see, the state has a lot going on. Kinda. Way out here in the western side of the state is a region that might be made up of hippie types. The Berkshires are here, a wicked mountainy region with small villages, outdoor recreation area, and arts. This is where they hold mountain festivals and where the leaf peepers go in the fall. Technically, the Berkshires are part of the Appalachian Mountains, but folks here are certainly more cultured than their Appalachian cousins in other states. Also in this part of the state is Pittsfield, which is, well, the pits. Crime is the fourth highest in the state, and this region is very poor and out of work. A little bit to the east and you have a bunch of smaller farming towns, and then south of that is a bunch of smaller colleges. There's a lot of colleges in Massachusetts, more on that later, but here in this part of the state, particularly, is a stretch of colleges nicknamed the Five College Consortium. You have Smith College, a private women's liberal arts college, which costs a lot. This is where Velma went. Scooby went to UMass, the kid nobody expected to make it to college. Also nearby is Amherst College, where Fred attended, Hampshire College, home to potheads like Shaggy, and Mount Holyoke College, where the trust fund wasp Daphne went. Where are you? We got some work to do now. Down here near the Connecticut state line is where Springfield is, the state's third largest city. Now, Springfield is pretty much the worst place you can live in the whole state. It's definitely the poorest place in Massachusetts, and it's also the second most violent. That's why homes here are the cheapest in the state. There's a lot of Section 8 and welfare here, people. Basketball was invented here, so that's cool. What many would refer to as Central Mass is pretty much made of Worcester County. Most of this area is basically large swaths of forest with teeny towns sprinkled throughout. The towns of Ware, Athol, Barry, and Gardner are here. These are all about an hour and a half out into the country, far from civilization. There used to be furniture factories way out here, but now people are poorer and there's not a lot to do for fun or for jobs. But it's quiet and really pretty. And living way out here, you don't have to deal with this mess. Yankee Doodle went to Ware, Yankee Doodle dandy, Yankee Doodle tweeted out that Ware was really crappy. As we get closer to civilization, we come to Worcester proper. This is the second biggest city in the state. There's about 186,000 people here. Think ghetto and poor like Springfield, but not quite as bad. An hour away from Boston means it's boring and winters are insufferable. There's about a dozen low-quality colleges here. We're trying to make this place better, so that's good. People who want something a little bit better but still want to avoid living in Boston live in nearby Framingham instead. Right here in the middle of this blue area is where Foxborough is, and that's where the Patriots play, people. This is Gillette Stadium, which was built in 2002, replacing Foxborough Stadium, aka Sullivan Stadium, aka Schaefer Stadium. The Patriots used to suck, but now they're kind of a big deal in these parts, as they are in the entire New England area. Pretty much everyone in the northern New England states are Patriots fans, more so because they've had a lot of success lately, winning 6 of the NFL's 20 last Super Bowls.
Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
Much of that's because of former quarterback Tom Brady and head coach Bill Belichick. But then, Tom Brady was traded to Tampa Bay, and now there's millions of Tampa Bay fans who live in this state. Anyways, it's an understatement to say the Patriots are popular in this place.
Whoa, Bill Belichick? Really?
Now the Red Sox are probably equally as popular as the Patriots, although polling suggests the Pats are slightly more popular within the state than the Red Sox are.
Here it is, ground ball to second. Reese, the Boston Boston Red Sox have won the pennant.
But all across the great state of Massachusetts are maternity wards filled with brand new Red Sox fans. Families will put their Sox box seats into their wills, and many people have no problem shelling out a ton of dough to sit out at the Green Monster. Also hugely popular are the Celtics, or the C's, as fans call them, and the Bruins, or the B's, as people here say. I don't know of anyone calling the Patriots the P's. Between all four major sports teams, there have been a total of 38 world titles in Massachusetts. The Celtics have won 17 NBA titles, the most of all time. Down here in Bristol County is relatively uneventful, but you're right next door to Rhode Island, so what do you expect? This is Cape Cod. It has a reputation of being preppy, but it's actually pretty diverse. There's depressed areas and rednecks and homeless, sure, and of course there's working class blue-collar folks too. I mean, who do you think waits on and cleans up after the rich folks? You know, the people in Osterville, Orleans, Cotuit, and Papaneset. But they're not the only areas where the preppy people live. At the tip of the Cape is Provincetown, which is where all the gay people live. Out on the Cape is where lots of wealthy people live, or where rich people visit, where sailing and yachting and summering is a thing. Polos, docksiders, popped collars, and pastels are the go-to styles of the wasps here. Vineyard vines and lily pulitzer exist because of the wealthy people from the Cape. And it's very touristy in the summer here. Down here is Martha's Vineyard, where there are very rich people, and where Hollywood types and politicians have second homes. And this is Nantucket, which has very, very rich people. It's very snobby here. The only way to get to these havens are by boat or by air. Here's where Plymouth Rock is. This is where the Mayflower Pilgrims first landed in 1620, everyone. They, unlike their angry and entitled millennial and Gen Z descendants, did not complain about entitlement and equality, nor did they trash the place when they didn't get their way. I wish old Mama Pilgrim would have a word with today's affected youth. Nowadays, Plymouth proper is a cute town with festivals and touristy stuff, but nearby Brockton is the next door neighbor who is always having the cops called. Drug use and a ghetto lifestyle in Brockton taints all of Plymouth County. It's an old mill town, so people cut them a break. Back off Cape, we come to South Shore, or the Irish Riviera. Now, about a quarter of the entire state claims to have Irish descent, which is the highest Irish population in the nation, and much of that Irish population lives here. 6 of our country's 10 most Irish towns are all along the South Shore, places like Marshfield and Hanover and Scituate. Folks here are really wealthy. Essex County up here is very expensive, semi-rural, peaceful, quiet, and expensive. Newburyport is the wealthiest of this region. Gloucester is a seaside town with a rich history of shipbuilding and cod fishing. They call it America's oldest seaport. It's a very dangerous seaport too. Part of that's due to nor'easters, which rage this part of the state from time to time. And of course we have Boston proper. Boston is the 25th largest city in the US, with about 625,000 people. The Boston metro area has about half of the state's population. Boston proper is business people in the daytime and college kids at night. There's bars everywhere and they drink a lot because there's a lot of Irish people here too. Everyone in Boston is a little bit Irish, even the Asians. St. Patrick's Day in Boston is akin to their very own Mardi Gras.
And a fine, fresh scent.
That's Irish Spring deodorant soap. Gets you fresh and clean as a whistle.
Boston neighborhoods include Charlestown, North End, Fenway, Back Bay, Chinatown, Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan, Roslindale, Jamaica Plain, Hyde Park, West Roxbury, Alston, Brighton, Mission Hill, Chestnut Hill, and South Boston. If you're from South Boston, you're a Southie. That means you probably drink a lot and work hard and probably don't have a lot to show for it. A lot of Boston neighborhoods are being gentrified though, as yuppies and tech people are replacing traditional neighborhoods. In fact, Boston ranks as being the 3rd most gentrified city in America. So Boston and the entire state of Massachusetts is getting bluer every year. There's a lot of history in Massachusetts. The Boston Tea Party was here. That's when angry Americans threw overtaxed tea into the Boston Harbor. Now angry Americans will just burn down Boston Harbor, and that's just a shame. Now, as we mentioned, there's a ton of colleges in this state. There's 65 colleges just in the Boston metro area alone. Harvard, Boston College, MIT, Tufts, and Wellesley are only a few of the well-known prestigious places in Boston to get your learn on. All of these colleges give Massachusetts a reputation as being the smartest state in the nation because there's more people in this state with a college degree than anywhere else. Just over 50% of the entire population here went to college, people. Thusly, this is a very liberal state. This is actually the most liberal state in the nation, where 35% of residents are liberal voters. Ted Kennedy was Massachusetts' favorite son, God rest his soul. Healthcare here is basically free, or at least universally available for poor people. That's good.
Did you know they call this state Taxachusetts?
I have heard of that, Mappy. Does this state have the most taxes of all, though?
Technically, no. Massachusetts ranks about middle in terms of total taxes.
Huh. Interesting. So the nickname isn't in fact true. What about drugs, Mappy? I hear drug use is bad here.
My calculations say Massachusetts ranks 8th for drug use.
Weed is still legal here, and there's still a bunch of strung outs? That's so sad, Mappy. Stay off drugs, kids. And that means you too.
But I don't...
Okay. Well, of course, being on drugs and being smart and being liberal doesn't make you nice. I mean, look at Mappy. So this state has a reputation of turning out smart people as well as producing jerks. People who live here are called massholes, mostly because they speak their minds and drive very aggressively and don't use their blinkers. If you drive slow in the fast lane or you double park, you might get a donkeys on your windshield. There's only two things that matter when driving in Massachusetts: arrival and survival. Massachusetts, a very diverse state. Really pretty springs and falls and potholes everywhere. Amazing sports, great schools, good health care, and relatively solid incomes. From Cape Cod all the way to the Berkshires, you have access to nature everywhere here. On paper, it's about average when you measure it up against the rest of the New England states, but there's probably more energy, passion, and soul here than the rest of New England combined. Okay, so there you have it. The state of Massachusetts in a nutshell. If you're thinking of moving here for some god-awful reason, now you know more about it. Now, we didn't have time to talk about everything in Massachusetts. For instance, we didn't even have time to talk about how Massachusetts and New York hate each other. Nor did we have time to talk about the rivalry between Boston and New York sports. And we also didn't have time to talk about the history of ghosts and goblins and witches here in Massachusetts. But we have to go. The bees are about to start, and we have to get a spot at the bar.
Time for some bad singing.
It's 6 o'clock on Monday, and I need to get down to the bar. There's a pub on every corner here, so I don't have to walk very far. On my way, I'll smoke some stuff and grab me a nice donkeys to go. All my Irish friends are drunk, maybe that's 'cause they're all massholes. It's just the state of Massachusetts. It's the Red Sox this year. Tom Brady's missed here. I'm wicked pissed here. It's just the state of Massachusetts. Hey guys, if you learned something new about America or what it's like to live in America, great! You should think about subscribing and turning on your notifications. You can also now buy my songs on iTunes and other formats. Click the link in the description. While we all might have different views, we should all be nice to each other and try to make the US a better place in a positive way.